A special melody that we'll return to later. If you're familiar, I invite you to join in. If not, I invite you to let the sound give you a big hug. Deep breath.
Shabbat Shalom, everyone.
Shabbat Shalom.
It is so good to be here with you and those joining on Zoom to welcome you into our connected sanctuaries, our big sanctuary, our small sanctuaries, all of us joining together for this Shabbat. We are reading from the Torah this week from Parshat Shoftim, and there's a verse that stood out to me as I was reading this week, which instructs us to bring our wholeheartedness to God, to approach God tamim, wholehearted. Even innocence is another way to translate it. But I like this idea of being wholehearted. Because when we come into this space, when we gather together for Shabbat, we bring our whole hearts. We bring the broken parts of our hearts, we bring the full parts of our hearts, and we bring them together, and we bring all of our hearts together in this space to say, let's make this one. Let's get a taste of the world to come when everything will be one. And can we just experience a little bit of that by being together, by leaning into Shabbat? And so to reach towards that oneness, let's take a moment here in the sanctuary to say hello to someone nearby, either greeting an old friend or meeting someone new. And if you are beneath the age of bar mitzvah, come on up and help us do a last mitzvah for Shabbat. Come and give some tzedakah. Come see Cantor Josh.
Oh, sorry, here you go, here you go. If you are a child or a child at heart, we invite you to do some tzedakah, that last act of creation. Matan, you ready? Matan, you ready? Here you go. You ready? You did it! Good job! Beautiful. I'm going to hand this to you. There we go. Hi, 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 hi. 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 Hi, 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 hi. Fill up the room.
So to welcome in Shabbat, we begin by lighting candles together. And so I'm going to invite us to take our Sidurim, our prayer books, out from under our seats and turn to page 120 and 121. And to light our candles to bring in the joy and the warmth of Shabbat this week. We have a number of people. I am so excited as I look out to see how many came after a whole week of studying every night for 3 hours a night, this whole week studying the prayer service, studying this service. So those who participated in our Iyun for Summer Institute, our deep dive into prayer, come on up to light candles. We are so thrilled that you came in a 5th night in a row. Come on up to light candles. Allison, you have to come up too. And so as we're coming up, let us all read together on page 121 at the top of the page. As these Shabbat candles give light to all who behold them, so may we by our lives give light to all who behold us. As their brightness reminds us of the generations of Israel who have kindled light, so may we in our own day be among those who kindle light.
All right, Alice, I think you are. Oh, Deb, would you like to? Go for it. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu להדליק נר של שבת.
Thank you all, Yasher Koach, for your learning. If anyone has questions throughout the service, these are the people to talk to.
We'll continue now on page 142, bringing in those angels. Shalom Aleichem. Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hashem, Malachei Elyon. Melech Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Poachem leshalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon. Melech Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Baruni leshalom, Malachei Hashalom,
Turn to page 138 as we say, come, let us go and meet the Shabbat presence. We go out, and then as we get to the end, we welcome Shabbat into our space. We meet in the middle as Shabbat arrives. Page 138.
Shamor v'zachor b'diburecha Ishmi'anu el hamiuchar Adonai echad u'shemo echad L'shem ultiferet v'litila L'echad Eka
We rise in body and spirit. We face the entrance of our space to welcome in the presence of Shabbat.
בואי ושלום, עצרת עלה, גם בשמחה ובצהלה, תוך אמוני עם סגולה, בואי חלה, בואי חלה, הולך אדוני לקראת עלה, פני שבת מקבלה, הולך אדוני לקראת עלה, פני שבת מקבלה, פני שבת
Turn to page 146 as we ready ourselves to respond to the call to worship. Respond with one voice. As we find our seats and turn to the next page, 148. Join together in the prayer for creation as we watch the shifting of the light outside. We begin with our prayer to ourselves in a voice that is loud enough for you to hear, soft enough so as not to disturb your neighbor, and then we'll join together in the words towards the bottom of the page.
We're centering on the words or mipnei choshech, v'choshech mipnei or, light to dark, and dark to light. Or mipnei choshech, v'choshech mipnei or, just like that. Or mipnei choshech, v'choshech mipnei. A wave of whispered sound. Let's find our own silent whispered prayers together. light to dark, dark to light. Or mivnei choshev, vechoshev mivnei or. Or mivnei choshev, vechoshev mivnei or. Baruch atah Adonai, Amari varavi.
On page 150, our prayer for ongoing revelation, Ahavat Olam.
Ahavat Olam, Beit Yisrael, Amcha ahavta, Torah u'mitzvot, u'kimu mishpati, otani limadeta. It's so nice when we sing together. Ahavat Olam, Beit Yisrael, Amcha ahavta, Torah u'mitzvot, u'kimu mishpati, otani limadeta. Hagen Adonai Eloheinu b'shochbeinu umeinu yasiach b'chutecha v'nismach b'divrei Toratecha u'b'mitzvotecha le'olam va'ed. Ahavat Olam, Beit Yisrael, Amcha ahavta, Torah u'mitzvot, u'kimu mishpati, otani limadeta. Just the voices together now. Ahavat Olam, Beit Yisrael, Amcha ahavta, Torah u'mitzvot, u'kimu mishpati, otani limadeta. Ve'ahavatecha al tasir mimenu le'olami, Baruch atah Adonai, Ohev Amo Yisrael. Continue page 152. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Le'olam Va'ed.
Continue with words of Torah on page 154. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavcha u'b'chol nafshecha u'b'chol meodecha ve'hayu hadvarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzavecha hayom al levavecha Veshinantam levanecha, v'dibartam bam, b'shivtecha, b'veitecha, uv'lechtecha v'derech, uv'shochbecha, uv'kumecha, ukshartam lehot al yadecha, v'hayu letotafot b'neinecha, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם אלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אדוני אלוהיכם אמת. We continue on page 158 with our song for redemption, Michamocha.
וגאלו ידך זך ממנו. ברוך אתה אדוני גאל ישראל. So songs are not only interpretations of texts, different ways that we can express the melody, but songs also within them, melodies and prayers contain memories. And so I'm going to invite Emily and Xander to come on up and help me lead Let There Be Love. We can find ourselves on page 160 and 161. And I know that Emily asked to help lead this portion of our prayer service because it is your grandfather's 10th yahrzeit tonight. And to keep that memory burning bright, Xander is named after your grandfather's Hebrew name, Zindel. And Xander, I hope you can help us with the hand motion so our whole community can pray with their bodies as well
My
as their
Hebrew name is also Zindel.
Oh, beautiful. There we go. It's also Zindel. Thank you. I invite you to turn to page 160, 161, and we will sing together, Let There Be Love and Understanding Among Us.
Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms. Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms. Ashkiveinu, Adonai Eloheinu. Ashkiveinu, Leshalom. Vehamidenu, Shomreinu lechaim. Ufros aleinu, Sukkah shlomecha.
Ashkiveinu.
Ashkiveinu,
Ashkiveinu. Let there be love.
Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms.
And Emily and Xander are going to stay up and help us lead a piece of prayer that we have not touched since the pandemic. I invite you to turn to page 162. It feels like Shabbat today. After the rain has been falling, it finally is beautiful and lower humidity. Let's celebrate Shabbat and all the work that it took to make creation beautiful. 162, Vasham.
Shamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat, לעשות את השבת לדורתם לברית עולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורתם לברית עולם.
Pen you
בני ישראל, אותי לעולם, אותי לעולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורתם לברית עולם.
כי ששת ימים עשה אדוני את
השמיים
ואת
הארץ. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורתם לברית עולם.
וביום השביעי שבת וינפש, שבת וינפש,
שבת וינפש. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורתם לברית עולם.
I invite you to rise if you're able as we turn to page 164. For Adonai Sabbatai, may my lips open up and may praises come forth.
Adonai Sabbatai Tivtah,
Keep going, Benedict.
Ufi Agid Tehilateha. Adonai Sabbatai Tivtah, Ufi Agid Tehilateha.
Open up our lips.
Open up our lips that we may praise your name.
Continuing on 166. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu Elohei Avoteinu v'Imoteinu Elohei Abraham Elohei Yitzchak Elohei Yaakov Elohei Sarah Elohei Rivka Elohei Rachel Elohei Leah Ha'el Hagadol Hagibor Hanora El Elyon Gomer Hasadim Tovim V'konei Hakol V'zocher Chasdei Avot V'imahot U'mevii Geula Livnei Bneihem Leman Shemo Be'ahava Melech Ozer U'Moshiach U'Magen Baruch atah Adonai Magen Avraham Ve'ezrat Sarah Atah Gibor Le'olam Adonai Mechayei HaKol Atah Rav Le'Hoshia Mori Hatal Mechakel Chaim Bechesed Mechayei HaKol Berachamim Rabim Somech Noflim Verofei Holim Umatir Asurim Umekayem Emunato Lishenei Afar Michamocha B'Gevurot Umido Melach Melech Remit Umechayeh Umatzliach Yeshua V'neheman atah l'chachayot hakol Baruch atah Adonai Mechayeh hakol Atah kadosh v'shimcha kadosh U'kdoshim b'chol yom yehalelucha selah Baruch atah Adonai Ha'el HaKadosh. We invite you to pray with the words of the Siddur or the words of your own heart, and you may be seated when your prayers have been completed. I invite you to turn to page 178 to conclude our Amidah, asking for Shalom Rav, lots and lots of peace. Our friends in Hawaii, our friends throughout the world really need some of that Shalom Rav right now. 178. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Ki hatahu melech adon lechol hashalom. Ki hatahu melech adon v'chol hashalom. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. V'tov be'einecha levarech et amcha Yisrael bechol het ubechol sha'a bishlomecha. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Tasim Leolam. Tasim Leolam.
We extend that prayer for peace to those in our lives for whom we are wishing a healing of body, of mind, or of spirit. If there is a loved one that you are holding close on this Shabbat, for whom you are saying Mishaberach, we'll invite you to rise. We'll come around the room and hear their names. On Zoom, please do write their names in the chat so that we may hold them in our hearts together as a community. This week we add the names of Craig Weiner and Shlomo Masha Bat Kraina. We hold all of them in our hearts as together we join in the words of Mishaberach on page 371. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Wish them all a refuah shlema, a speedy and complete healing. And as we gather in community, we also lift up our moments of joy. So if there are any birthdays or anniversaries that you are celebrating within your circle, we'd love to celebrate with you.
My Aunt Edna turned 101 this year.
101 for your Aunt Edna.
Mazel tov.
Big Mazel Tov. That's beautiful. A new granddaughter. Mazel Tov
Mazel
to you.
tov.
Beautiful. An engagement. Mazel Tov. Or getting married soon. Already. Next week, okay.
I was
So
gonna
the
say, hopefully the
engagement already
engagement was
happened.
before
The
that.
marriage is
Well,
very
yeah.
soon. Mazel tov, a
Mazel
little
tov.
bit in advance. Beautiful.
It's our 34th anniversary on Sunday.
Your 34th
Oh my
anniversary on
gosh.
Sunday. Mazel
Mazel
tov to
tov.
you. Beautiful. And your brother's birthday. A happy birthday to him.
My granddaughter got married.
And your granddaughter just got married. Mazel tov. So many blessings in the room. Beautiful.
It's a good month.
Beautiful. A good month for blessings. For all of these joys that we've said out loud, that we've written in the chat, let's join together in Shehechianu.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam shehechianu v'kimanu v'hegianu lazman hazeh. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam shehechianu v'kimanu v'hegianu lazman hazeh. Let's say amen. Amen.
There were two friends walking down the street in Back Bay, and because they were walking down the street in Back Bay, it was loud. Trucks rumbling and drivers honking, car alarms ringing, people shouting, bike messengers dinging, all of this noise sounding as two friends were walking down Palm Ave, until mid-conversation, one of them paused abruptly. "Did you hear that?" he asked. "Did I hear what?" his friend replied. "Did you hear that sound?" The friend looked around, bewildered. "Which sound?" Standing still in the middle of the street, he said, "No. Did you hear that cricket?" "A cricket?" "Yes," he said, "a cricket. There's a cricket in that window box across the street." "You have got to be kidding me," said the friend. "There is no way that in the midst of trucks rumbling and drivers honking that you heard a cricket in a window box across the street. There's no way." "No," he said. "Let's go see." So the two friends crossed the street, peered into the window box, and sure enough, there was a single cricket, rubbing its wings together to make its very own chirp among the city noise. "That is unbelievable," said the friend. He was incredulous. "How in the world did you do that? How did you hear a single cricket through all of this noise?" "It's simple," he said. "Watch this." He reached into his pocket and took out a quarter. He lifted his hand to shoulder height as his friend watched mesmerized, waiting for some kind of magic trick. He dropped the quarter, and as it hit the sidewalk with that first plunk, the car alarms stopped ringing, the people stopped shouting, the bike messengers stopped dinging, and in the silence of the city, the quarter clinked against the sidewalk until it lay flat on the ground. "See," he said, "it all depends what you're listening for." Our world is so incredibly loud. So loud. So much competes for our attention, to grab a second of our consciousness amid the fight for focus, and at some points, it all rolls itself into one big cacophony, so much so that we don't hear sounds, we just hear sound. How often in your normative daily existence do you think you'd be able to hear a cricket in the middle of the city? What does it take to alert us to the full spectrum of life existing around us? What kind of call might ring that we would hear and recognize and answer? Tikia, Shivarim, Trua. We've just begun the month of Elul, the month that leads us to the High Holy Days. In this month of Elul, the custom is to hear the sound of the shofar every day. The unique sound of the shofar is meant to awaken us. We often say that the goal of the month of Elul is to prepare ourselves for the High Holy Days, to do the emotional, spiritual, introspective soul work of these most sacred days of the Jewish calendar. When I think about preparation, I think about creating order, about getting organized. When we prepare a meal, we cut up all of our vegetables, maybe measure out some other ingredients, and lay them out ready to go. When we prepare something for work, a presentation, a lesson plan, a meeting agenda, we collect our thoughts, organize them into coherent arcs to prepare to share them with others. Preparation is about pulling it all together to be able to do something and get it right. We often say that the month of Elul is about preparation, but it isn't about preparation in this way. It isn't about pulling it all together and there's nothing to get right, no clear desired outcome of our High Holy Day experience. The month of Elul is much more so about unpreparing. Not pulling it together, but about pulling it apart, opening up pieces of ourselves to see what we might find. The shofar calls us to this unpreparing. It stirs us. As Maimonides wrote, it is as if the shofar's call is saying, "Wake up, you sleepy ones, from your sleep, you who slumber, arise. Inspect your deeds, repent, remember your Creator." The shofar isn't a flute. It isn't a harp or a lyre or a baby grand piano. The shofar does not play lullabies. The sound of a shofar is jarring. It demands to be heard. The shofar calls in such a way that even if we were in the noisiest spot of the noisiest city, we would reflexively turn towards that sound. In the early 2000s, Rabbi Alan Liu wrote a book that is, for me and many, many others, their spiritual guide through the High Holy Day experience. It has just about the best book title of all time. It's called "This is Real and You Are Completely Unprepared: The Days of Awe as a Journey of Transformation." The book is part Jewish teaching, part for personal reflection, and sometimes part guided meditation. Rabbi Liu has a beautiful passage about hearing the shofar. He writes, "Suddenly you are awakened by a strange noise, a noise that fills the full field of your consciousness and then splits into several jagged strands, shattering that field, shaking you awake. The ram's horn, the shofar, the same instrument that will sound 100 times on Rosh Hashanah, the same sound that filled the world when the Torah was spoken into being on Mount Sinai, is being blown to call you to wakefulness. You awake to confusion. Where are you? Who are you? And then you remember, in exactly 1 month, 1 revolution of the moon, you will stand before God. What will God see on that day? What will you see?" This month of Elul, allow the sound of the shofar to pierce through, to call you to wakefulness, to fill the full field of your consciousness. Hear the shofar in person or search it online, and result after result will come up. Hear the shofar or hear the familiar melodies that tell us that the High Holy Days are coming, that are beginning to make their way into our sacred spaces, and welcome them in. Let them rattle you and shake you into awareness. Let them be the soundtrack to your unpreparation. 4 short weeks from right now, as we welcome a new year together in this sanctuary, We will stand before God, and we will stand before ourselves. Who will you see? Who will you be? What version of you will you bring into this new year? Enjoy the journey of Elul. Open yourself to possibility and to the sound of that single little cricket chirping in a window box. Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom. Let's just take a second and listen. Every day in the month of Elul, we ask these big questions, just like you asked us. And one of them comes in the form of Psalm 27. Psalm 27 in your Sidurim can be found on page, I had it here, 662. Page 662 if you want to join me. Or else you can just listen for those crickets as we bring back an old melody, an old friend from earlier this evening. 662. Achat sha'alti me'et Adonai ota avakesh. One thing I ask you, let me live with you, let me be with you. Who will I be? Hide, 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 hide. Hide, 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 hide. Hide, 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 hide. Achat sha'alti. Achat sha'alti me'et Adonai ota avakesh. Achat sha'alti me'et Adonai ota avakesh. Shivti bevet Adonai kol yemei chayai. Lachazot benoam benoam Adonai ולבקר בחלום. לחזות בנועם בנועם אדוני ולבקר בחלום. אחת שאלתי מאת אדוני אותה אבקש. אחת שאלתי מאת אדוני אותה אבקש. שבתי בבית אדוני כל ימי חיי. לחזות בנועם בנועם אדוני ולבקר בחלום. לחזות בנועם בנועם אדוני ולבקר בחלום.
We rise, turn to page 586 for the words of Aleinu, reminding us of our responsibility in making the world one day one.
עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה לעוצב ראשי, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם. ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים HaKadosh Baruch Hu. ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו echad.
As we turn to Mourner's Kaddish on page 598, we take a moment to reflect on the memory of those whom we've loved and lost, whether in a recent season or at this time in years past. If you are saying Kaddish for someone this evening, if you're observing a yahrzeit, or if you are in a period of Shiva, Shloshim, or Shana, I'll invite you to rise first so we may acknowledge you, hear the name of your loved one spoken aloud. And on Zoom, please write the names of the folks that you are remembering in the chat as we come around and hear their names. This week as a community, we are remembering recently deceased Ross Clark, Debbie Doctor, Norman Stephen Friedman, Bernard Gitlin, David Goldstein, Lewis Hoffman, Herbert Karras, Richard Moscow, not yet interred, and Irving Silverman. And we remember from this time, years past, Samuel Bellow, Lena Greenbaum-Schramm, and Florence Winwer Fleischer. We rise together in support of the mourners as we turn to page 598 for the words of Kaddish. Yitzgadal v'yitzkadash shemei Rabbah.
Amen.
Be'alma divra chirute v'yamlich malchute. B'chayechon uv'yomechon uv'chaye dechol Beit Yisrael. Ba'agala uv'izman kariv v'imru.
Amen. Yehi shmei Rabbah mevarach le'olam ulamei almaya.
Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh. V'yithadar v'yithaleh v'yithalal shmei d'kudusha b'richu. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata. Tushbachata v'nechamata. Da'amiran be'alma v'imru. Amen. Yehi shlama Rabbah min Shemaya. V'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru. Amen. Oseh shalom bimromav. Hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru. Amen.
Ya'aseh shalom, Ya'aseh shalom, Shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Ya'aseh shalom, Ya'aseh shalom, Shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael.
May the source of peace send peace to all who mourn and comfort to all who are bereaved. Together we can say, Amen. Before we head into a moment of Oneg, a couple of announcements. This is indeed Elul, and the High Holy Days are approaching, and this week you should have received an email that High Holy Day registration is open, and so this is your friendly reminder to do that. But before we get there, we do have some programs for this month of Elul, two in particular that I think are really special that I want to call your attention to. A three-part series on mikveh, on ritual immersion with the amazing Mayim Chaim just around the corner. It's 3 Wednesdays beginning on August 30th, and it's open to all, and we hope that if you have questions, come and ask, and that you will join us. We also have a wonderful ceramics class to be in the work of Elul, of renewal, of reflection on Sunday, September 10th. If you haven't had a chance to take a ceramics class with Tamar Foreman, this is a good time to do it. It's really something special. So we are going to turn to concluding with Kiddush and Motzi. I want to invite our friends from our last summer Institute program, our deep dive into Jewish prayer reunion, back up for Kiddush. And I think we have some friends who are going to help us as well with Kiddush
Beautiful.
and Motzi.
So I heard through the grapevine that we have visitors from Poland here tonight, and I saw them singing and I saw them focusing, so I think it would be lovely if you could join us a little for our blessing at the end, if that's all right. Come on up.
Page 123 for the words of Kiddush, sanctifying the Shabbat day.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu v'shabbat kodsho be'ahava uvratzon hinchilanu zikaron lema'aseh v'reishi ki hu yom techila lemikra'e kodesh zecher letziar mitzrayim ki vanu v'acharta ve'otanu kitashta mikol hamim v'shavat kodshecha be'ahava uvratzon hinchaltanu Baruch atah Adonai mekadesh hashabbat. The blessing sounds the same in Poland, perhaps. Thank you for joining me.
Beautiful. And last but not least, we will offer a blessing over the bread, our motzi, so that we can join together in oneg outside in just a moment. Eloheinu melech haolam, hamotzi lachem min haaretz. Amen. Avon, thank you, Julie. All right.
And before we say Shabbat Shalom and have a wonderful evening, I want to thank our musical leaders. I want to thank our EUN participants, including Liz. Thank you so much for joining us this week. Been such a pleasure.
And
I
thank
think
you,
it's
Emily, for running all the tech today, all by herself.
Thank you, Emily. And I think it's time that we end with a Shabbat Shalom. Lai 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 ya lai 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 ya lai 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 ya 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 lai 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 ya lai 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 ya lai 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 ya lai 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 ya lai.
Shabbat Shalom.
Everyone.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat shalom, everyone.
That needs to be oiled. Both, anybody.